So yes, the Noobs Play Noobs God tournament has finally come to an end, and that means we're back to these kinds of videos, only they're going to be every other week, because I've got a full-time job, and I realised in making this video that I do not have enough time to make 2 videos a week, because on the weekends, I just don't have the time. I'd need to make 2 videos over 2 days, and then like do little bits in between, and it's just not good enough. So you're going to get these types of videos every other week, and then every other week there isn't this, you're going to get guide type videos. Okay? Cool. Also, regular streams are going to continue 2 hours every single Saturday at about 4 PM, while, 6 to 8 PM sort of region, depending on when I start and depending on how I'm feeling at the time. So if you want to check that out, head on over to dlive.tv/COLONELDAMNEDERS, give the channel a follow, or just head into the Discord and keep an eye out on the notifications, because chances are, when I go live, they know. When I do anything, they know. When I make these types of videos, they know. Which nicely brings me on to the topic of today's video. What is the best hero for every faction? Now, I'm not talking about legendary heroes, sorry Croak fanboys, I love him as much as you do, but that big fat toad, yeah, he's very clearly the best hero because he's just incredible. His spells are fantastic, he does loads of damage, and he's pretty hot, to be honest with you. But I want to know what hero you should be taking with you in every single army when you're playing that faction. When you're playing the Empire, you are building an army and you're thinking, what should I bring with me? I want to figure that out for every single faction in the game. So I went to the lovely Discord that I use oh so much and stole all their ideas. I said, guys, what is the best hero for every faction? They told me their answers and I wrote them down, and I'm not going to give them any credit apart from this right here. So if you want to join this, get no credit, give me your ideas, and I will shamelessly steal them to make content, then be sure to join the Discord. There's a link in the description. It's a great time. If you're searching for games, if you want to know when I'm doing anything, if you want to take part in videos like this, if you want help on anything, join the Discord, ask me, ask anyone else. There's loads of great people in there. So when considering this, I want to make sure it was tailored to the campaign. So it's not just how they perform in battle, with their spells, abilities, passives, stats, all sorts of cool stuff like that. I also want to focus on how they perform in the campaign, so what bonuses they bring your faction. This can either be in their skill trees or just by the passives and the traits that they bring with them when they get recruited. So all of that came into effect when I was deciding on this. And as I mentioned, legendaries are not allowed, so things like Gotchuk and Felix, Lord Croak, the Green Knight, they are not allowed because only one of them can exist per faction. This is if you are making a go-to army, what hero should you bring with you in that army? And of course, these are all opinions of me in the Discord, so don't get too upset if I'm wrong, okay? Let's get into this. So starting with the High Elves, and this is going to set a bit of a trend, we're going for the Mages of Fire. Now I know you're thinking the Lore of Fire is actually really good, and yes, it definitely is. It's literally one of the best lores in the game in every single category. It's got great buffs, it's got fantastic damaging spells, some of the best damaging spells in the game, aside from Lord Croak of course, and it's just a really all-round fantastic lore, so of course it's going to be useful in every single army. But the reason that this is so damn useful isn't because it's Lore of Fire, because if you think about it, with the latest DLC, you can get high mages or whatever they're called of fire to lead your armies. It is because you can get a Sun Dragon mount on this wizard, and you can't get a Sun Dragon mount on any other hero wizard in the game. So that means that if you choose to take, a Lord, and if you choose any other lore in the game, say you choose, a Shadows Lord, or a Beast Lord, or a Heavens Lord, or wherever Lord, you can have them on a dragon, and then also have the Fire Hero also on a dragon. So rather than having your Fire Lord on a dragon, and then your, Shadows hero on just some normal mount, you have 2 dragons, and that is extremely strong. Of course, when they are on a dragon, this means that they're going to be fantastic fighters as well as being really potent spellcasters, Lords fight on these sorts of dragons, so it's going to catapult that hero from being, just a spellcaster that can fight if it really needs to a spellcaster that is actively seeking out fight and breathing fire down on their opponents and doing so much damage and being so useful. It's the Mages of Fire. That's all I gotta say. They're so good. If you're struggling on what to pick, take these guys, because on a dragon, oh boy, that's great. I feel like I should mention, by the way, this is obviously if you have all the DLC, because I have all the DLC, and, this is just the ultimate army, if you can take any unit in the entire game of all the DLCs, okay? Just get that out of the way. Now, for the Dark Elves, it isn't the Caster of Fire, actually, quite interesting, it's actually Masters, and I know what you're thinking, Casters are incredibly good, have more battle potential, can pick up way more kills than this guy. Pretty much any of the casters can do that, with the exception of some of the crappier laws out there. But the Dark Elves can actually recruit Firecasters from turn 1, and the Firecaster of the Dark Elves can't get any fantastic mounts. In fact, none of the Spellcaster heroes of the Dark Elves can get any particularly exciting mounts. So why are we going for the Master? Now, Masters are really good fighters and have some pretty good mounts. In fact, if you are quite good at your micro, they get that chariot, so they can charge in, do a lot of damage, keep them on the move, and they will get loads of kills. Yes, they do need a little bit more micro than your average spellcaster, but the potential is there for them to be super good. They also have some really nice campaign effects, such as the Names of Power, which are basically these skills that you get once you get to a certain level in the trees that lets you either improve the unit a lot or improve the faction quite a lot. And I don't think I need to tell you that improving the entire faction via leveling up a single unit is incredibly strong. So If you can take Masters, just level them up just to get these bonuses, then that is absolutely worth doing, because oh boy, these things can actually carry some pretty tasty bonuses. And a final thing that makes them so damn good is that by having some of these guys, you naturally lower the slave decline rate. I think it's in the local region, I'm not quite sure about this, I might need to put it on screen now and check, but I believe they lower the slave decline rate in the local region, and when your economy is based on slaves, as it is when you're playing the Dark Elves, lowering the decline rate of that just means that you're going to be continually making more money. Even if you just sat there doing nothing, your slaves are going to die slower, which means that your amount of money that you're going to be making is going to decrease slower. And let's be honest, because you constantly fight this Dark Elves, it's going to increase exponentially, super fast. That's damn good. Masters, they're pretty brilliant. I would say take a Spellcaster Lord and bring these guys in as their hero, because oh boy, they're fantastic. Oh, it's hot. I might need to put a hat on or something, because my hair is sweating into my own face. This is crazy. Also, hope you've noticed, got a brand new Hawaiian shirt today. Got this bad boy off the Amazonian to celebrate my new job. Look at that. That is a tasty print if you ask me. Now for the Lizardmen. We went with the Skink Priest of Heavens. Now, they only have access to 2 laws of magic in their, default spellcasters. And between Beasts and Heavens is obviously the better one because, Comet of Cassandra, Lightning Bolts, Chain Lightnings, need I say any more? These spells are fantastic. But to be honest with you, that's not really the reason that it was won, because, the Skink Chief and the Sora Scar Veteran actually have some really good mounts, so they're actually very good heroes to bring with you. Say if you bring a Slan Mage Priest of Heavens, a Sora Scar Veteran that can get on a Cancer, that's pretty good. It's like having Krokgar following you around, and that is pretty top tier, especially with a little bit of training, that skill that everyone says is pretty bad. I quite like it personally, but what can you do? But yes, as I was saying, the Sora Scar Veteran on a Carnosaur, that's a pretty good unit, so why isn't that the best hero? It's because the Skink Priests can get on the Engine of the Gods Stegodon. Now, I don't know if you've heard of the Engine of the Gods Stegodon, but what it basically is a Stegodon, which is, a pretty good unit anyway. It's, got loads of, ranged potential. It can do loads of poison damage. It's got like 80 ammunition, so it fires the entire game, does so much damage and does poison damage, so debuffs units. And it's also a massive Stegodon, so it does loads of damage in melee and is all this and it's all that. But it also has the Engine of the Gods on the back, which, if you don't know what it does this. Ooh, I'd hate to be there, wouldn't you? Yes, it does this massive laser beam attack, as well as being a caster, as well as being a massive dinosaur, and as well as doing ranged poison damage. This thing is crazy. It is the most attractive thing I've seen since Mazdamundi, and we all know that's saying a lot. So yes, if you're playing the Lizard Boys, get a Priest, probably of Heavens because it's just the better of the 2 laws, but that's not really the reason. Get a Priest so that you can sink all the points into getting to the Engine of the Gods Stegodon, because oh boy, I know it takes a few levels to get there, but once you get there, it's just fantastic. You don't really need anything else. It's so good. Now for the Skaven, this is one that we tossed and turned on a lot. We had a lot of arguments, we ruined some friendships, and we made some new ones, but we eventually did actually have to call it a tie for I think it's one of the first times ever. It's a tie between the Plague Priest and the Warlock Engineer. Now, Plague Priests are better for battle, and Warlock Engineers are kind of an all-rounder. They're good at a lot of things. So if you are strapped for cash and can only get one, then it really comes down to what you need more: battling or other things for general use. Now, Plague Priests are monsters in battle. They have great spells, pretty good fighters, and have some pretty great passives that make them just incredible just to be in the front lines, debuffing the enemy, and just doing so much work. They eventually get access to 2 summon spells, which means that you can summon 2 extra units on top of the other units that you can summon because you're the Skaven, and depending on how many Winds of Magic, you can summon these units quite a few times. So, even if you have a 20 full stack, you can still bring, 2 to 3 to 4 extra units with you just in the Winds of Magic. Now, moving on to the Engineers, they have a lot of utility rather than being straight fighters. So if you have a lot of ranged units in your army, like if you're playing Ikit Claw, for example, then Warlock Engineers are probably the way to go, simply because they buff all of the ranged units in your army. And when you're playing Ikit Claw, I don't need to tell you that you're going to be running a lot of ranged units, Rattling Guns, Jezzails, Globadiers, these sorts of things are insanely good. And if you buff them with an Engineer and just have him sat by them, buffing them for the entire battle, oh boy, that's going to be some dead enemies. On top of this, on the campaign map, they are the units that can establish undercities, which is, one of them things that when you're playing as a Skaven, you can kind of forget about it, but if you do use it, it's actually pretty strong, so you should try and use it as much as you possibly can. And to cap everything off, they also have access to the Skaven Spells of Ruin, which, as we all know, are fantastic, because Warp Lightning, you can get the cooldown to like a couple of seconds, you can get the cost to a couple of Winter Magic, and the damage potential of it is so damn good. Yes, there are other spells in the lore, but are they really? Come on, it's the Skaven Spells of Ruin. You're using it for Warp Lightning and pretty much nothing else. Okay, now we come to the Warhammer 2 DLCs, starting off with the Tomb King's it's pretty obvious it's the Necrotect, isn't it? It's just the best one. Yes, their combat use is actually kind of limited, and they don't have the most amazing mounts in the game. You know, they can get a little chariot, but it's not really all there. But their abilities, both passive and active, are absolutely fantastic. Just having one of these guys in your army constantly buffs nearby constructs, you know, with better defense, better attack, better everything. On top of that, they also have an active ability that lets them heal constructs that they target. They have to be kind of nearby, but when you're playing as a Tomb King, you're kind of in a bit of a death ball anyway. So you just send this guy out. Oh, what's that? Your Sphinx is getting a little bit low on health. Oh, well, send this guy over. Oh, it's healed back up. Freaking-tastic. Necrotechs are amazing. Now, on top of this, recruiting these guys can also increase the capacity of certain units, especially when you get into their skills. I can't remember the exact skills, it's been a little while since I've played them, but you get the choice of increasing the capacity of 3 types of units. I think it's like Tomb Scorpions, Necropolis Knights, and War Sphinxes, something like that. I will have to check, but oh boy, that's fantastic. The ability to get more constructs. We all know the only thing, when you're playing the Tomb Kings, the only thing holding you back from just, you know, building army after army after army, it ain't gold, it's recruitment capacity. You know, if you have all of your constructs built, then you can't build anymore, and you don't want to just spam skeleton armies because they're pretty useless. So you have to wait till you can build more capacity, and it really slows you down. But with these guys, get them to a certain level, get these skills, and oh boy, you can crank out the armies stupid fast. It's so overpowered. I love it. In conclusion, their entire purpose is to make constructs better, and playing as the Tomb Kings, the constructs are your star units, so you need to bring these guys as much as you can. Now, roundings out for Warhammer 2, we of course have the Gunnery Wights. Quite similar to Necrotechs, these guys buff the backbone of your army, but rather than it being constructs, it's ranged units. We all know the Vampirates, or the Vampire Coast, as they are officially named. They're all about the ranged units, you know, the deck gunners, the hand gunners, the gunner gunners, the necrofex, and, you know, the queen bess. You know, these are the sorts of units that get all the kills, whereas everything else is just kind of there to slow things down while you shoot at them. But quite similar to an Necrotect, the Gunnery Wights are actually very average performing. You know, they have pretty high single target damage, but it's single target damage, so their kill potential is very limited. You know, they're only going to pick up 1 or 2 kills at a time, and it's going to take them quite a while to shoot. But their abilities are, again, top tier. Just by being there, they buff nearby friendly ranged units. Fantastic. They also have an active buff that they can use to, again, buff all nearby friendly ranged units. And the best one, and I absolutely love this talent, but it is so strong. I don't know, I just don't understand how it's there and how it's balanced, because oh boy, you can increase how much ammo a unit has, and you can do this like 5 or 6 times. And if you put this on Queen Bess, I don't think I need to tell you how overpowered that is. If you increase how much ammo Queen Bess has, you know, she runs out of ammo and just give them more. Do I need to tell you how overpowered that is? It's insane. And to top this all off, they also have one of the most, in my opinion, underrated skills in the entire game, which is training, which gives your units passive XP just by this guy being in the army. So, you know, if you have just recruited an entire fresh army while you sat around, you know, recruiting the last few units, the units that have already been recruited are going to start leveling up. Admittedly, quite slowly, but better than just being sat there and getting nothing, isn't it? So yes, Gunnery Wights, fantastic. They deserve to be in every single army with pretty much 0 exceptions. Now, kicking us off for Warhammer 1, we have the elect counts themselves, the Empire. And I'm going to have to go again with a Bright Wizard, which, if you didn't know, is a firecaster for pretty much everyone that isn't Wolfheart. And I'll explain why. When you're playing as the Empire, you know, if you start as 3 of the 4 legendary lords, you're going to be starting in, you know, the middle of the old world. And say you start about here, the vampire counts, they're kind of over here to the side. I don't know if that's the right side. I'm looking on the camera. Yeah, it looks right to me. But, you know, over to anywhere near you are going to be some vampires. And what are vampires really weak against? Fire, of course. So, what are you going to bring in all your armies? Fire, of course. Now, this decision was made way easier by the fact that the Empire doesn't really have any spellcaster lords apart from the Supreme One himself. So you, of course, always want to take a spellcaster, and to be honest with you, all of the Empire spellcasters are pretty good. They also have quite a range of laws of magics to choose from, so you can't really go wrong, but I just went for fire because of the proximity to the vampires. But if you're playing as Wolfheart, you're going to be starting against a lot more Lizardmen, and when you're playing against Lizardmen and when you're playing Wolfheart, your focus on your armies is ranged, and against Lizardmen, fire isn't going to do too much because it's kind of weak against armor. So you're going to probably want to go something like Light, which will give you Net of Amnitok, which will let you pin down units and let you fire at them quite a lot. That one will probably be a bit better, but for the most part, if you're starting in, you know, the old world and there's vampires right next to you, you can't go wrong with a Firecaster, and you can't ever really go wrong with a Firecaster, to be honest. Just make sure you don't target your own units, otherwise it gets a little bit messy. Now, it's that time of the month again where I would like to take this time out to thank my lovely patrons. Yes, if you didn't know, I do in fact have a Patreon because I like to beg for money, okay? It really makes me happy. But there's been some lovely people that have decided to oh so generously donate to it, and these people are The Hot Soup, Balatov, and Henry Tucker. So thank you guys very much. There's also a couple of people that are on screen now. If you want to donate to the Patreon, it's just a couple of dollars a month. It just comes to me, helps me fund these videos, and you know, pretty much everything I get from it goes straight back into making videos. You know, that's pretty much where all the money that I ever earn goes. It goes straight back into this thing here that is, I suppose, the studio. But yes, if you would like to donate to that and help me out, I'd really appreciate it. There's some funky benefits. I'm kind of late on them at the moment because I'm trying to get on top of this whole new job thing. But if you'd like to do that, there's a link in the description. Please do consider it. I would appreciate it very, very much. And thank you for your time. And of course, thank you to all the patrons that are supporting me right now. Love you guys. Such benefits of donating to the Patreon also include getting mentioned in videos, getting special discounts on merchandise, of which I'm kind of trying to get some more made, some actual cool designs rather than just my stupid face. You get exclusive content that's only available to the patrons. These videos are kind of just podcasts of me just talking about how my life is going at the time, what's coming with the channel, and what I'm working on at the moment. So if you'd like to get your hands on any of that, then please do consider heading down to the Patreon, which is linked in the description. Become a patron today, and it will, of course, support me, and I would love you oh so much for it. Thank you for all the support, as usual. Now, for my babes, the vampire counts. It's a necromancer, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of obvious. The lore of the vampires is so goddamn OP that it's impossible to pick anything else. You know, they got regeneration and resurrection of units, so that's just beautiful. Wind of Death is particularly strong, especially when you're going against AI, because, you know, you can just clump them up, put in an overcast one of those bad boys, and the unit just disappears. It's fantastic. On top of that, necromancers can also get an Holy Lodestone Corpse Cart as their mount, and yes, I know I said I hate Corpse Carts, and I do, but if you can get a mount, you know, you've already got a good unit there, put it on a mount that's giving passive regeneration, and it kind of makes it worth it, okay? I admit it, this Corpse Cart is kind of good, but a base Corpse Cart that's like this, don't bother, just get another Necromancer and put him on one. To be honest, Necromancers don't even need to cast spells to get their worth. You can just sit them there, spam Arcane Conduit, have them nearby to provide passive regeneration, and just rake in the profits. Even if you have a Vampires caster leading your army, you know, you've got Manfred, you've got Vlad, you've got Isabella, you've got anyone, it's worth bringing an extra one, since you really, literally cannot ever have enough regen, and as I said, the magic regeneration from these guys is out of this world. Take a Necromancer in every single army, you won't regret it. Moving on to the Dwarfs, these short lads. The Master Engineer, we'll toss and turn in between this and a Runesmith, but you can get a Rune Lord, you can't get an Engineer Lord, which might change in the future, that'd be pretty cool, but yeah, it's the Master Engineer. Now, you can think of these guys as basically a short, mortal Gunnery Wight, because they buff the range units pretty much like a Gunnery Wight does. They just stand there, buff them, they also have some active buffs they can use to either make them tougher, make them do more damage, make them reload faster, give them more range, all sorts of fun stuff like that. And when you're playing as the Dwarf boys, yes, your front line's insanely tough and can do a lot of damage. The range units are your real killers, you know, your Flame Cannons, your Iron Drakes, your Quarrelers, your Thunderers, all of these things are pretty much going to get the majority of the killing done, even the Grudge Throwers, for God's sakes. So buffing them is always a real priority. As I said, they do also have 2 active abilities as well as their passives, so just, you know, spamming these on a set of Iron Drakes or a Flame Cannon or whatever, it's going to make them in such a killing machine that Khorne is going to get jealous, okay? It's fantastic. You want to be using these abilities on cooldown if you can. Now, as I mentioned, Runesmiths, yes, they are good, but you can get a Rune Lord, so, you know, if you want a new army, recruit a Rune Lord to get the runes, and then recruit a Master Engineer to buff the range units. It's a win-win situation. Now, for the greenskins, is it really surprised that we went for the Orc Shaman? Yes, you know, the big boss is pretty good, and the River Hag is alright, but this guy can summon giant feet picks, okay? How is it not him? He's the only unit in the entire game that can use the Foot of Gork that isn't Wurzag, okay? You want one of these guys in every single army, and apart from Wurzags, in Wurzags you can bring, I don't know, a big boss, maybe a Goblin Shaman, maybe a River Hag, it doesn't really matter. But for everyone apart from Wurzag, you want to bring an Orc Shaman so you can utilise the lore of the Big Wag. This lore is incredible. Not only does it have the Foot of Gork, which, as I said, one of the best spells in the game, does so much damage, it's fantastic, blah blah blah, you love it, I love it, we all love it, it's fantastic. But it also has, you know, Here We Go, which is a fantastic buffing spell. It's got the one that gives them more melee attack and defense and damage, and then it's got the Brainbuster, it's got the Wave one, it's got this, it's got that, it's got fantastic spells. I've done a video on it, you can see it right there. But it's fantastic, so you want it in every single greenskin army that you can. So if you're not playing Wurzag, or the army doesn't have Wurzag in it, it should have an Orc Shaman. enough said. Now for the Simp Lords, the Bretonnians. We decided to go for a Damsel of Life for the pure reason of that's kind of the best one, but none of them are particularly amazing. Let me elaborate. So you can get paladins, which are very good fighters, but you can only get paladins and then 3 types of damsels that do, I think it's heavens, life, and beasts. And when you're recruiting a Bretonnian lord, you can get a lord, or you can get some prophetesses that do heavens, life, and beasts. So when it came down to it, we decided that I would rather have a lord fighting than a paladin fighting, and then have that lord accompanied by a spellcaster than a prophetess spellcaster lord being accompanied by a paladin. So you can have the lord doing the fighting and the spellcaster doing the casting, and it just made the most sense to us that way. And the reason we went for life is because when you get to the end game of Bretonnian armies, the majority of your units are going to be large units. They're going to be cav. Well, if you're good at it. They weren't for me, but I'm not good at Bretonnia, okay? I'm bad at cav. But if you're playing them right, then the majority of your endgame units should be cav. So they're all going to be large units and smaller unit sizes, so they're not going to need to be resurrected, and this means that you can just heal them all back up to full before, any or many of the units dies. And on top of that, the Law of Life, it's a pretty good all-rounder for buffing units that need that sort of defense because, cav does a lot of damage, but it is also vulnerable to taking a lot of damage if it gets trapped. So with the Law of Life, you can keep those units that go in very buffed up, especially if it's some units like some hippogriffs or something, throw some healing on those and they will literally never die. Even better, we'll throw some buffs and some physical resistance on those, they will never ever ever die. So yes, it's got to be the Damsel of Life. Mainly because it's the best choice from a very mediocre lot. Alright, you know how it is, we've got to the ones where I haven't really played them that much, although I have been playing Chaos. If you want to watch that, head over to dlive.tv/COLONELDAMNEDERS. Gonna keep plugging it because no one's watching it. JK, thank you for the people that did watch it, I appreciate you very much. Now for the Norskins, it's the Bale Fiend of Fire, for the pure reason that it's the Law of Bloody Fire. I don't feel I need to keep reiterating this. The Law of Fire is really good, you should use it, that's all I'm going to say about it. But the reason it's the Bale Fiend of Fire rather than the regular Shaman, or Shaman, or Shaman of Fire, is because, look at him. It's a Bale Fiend, Shaman. Bale Fiend, Shaman. Giant scary monster thing, man in a fur coat. I'm going to go with this bad boy because he looks a lot scarier and looks like he's going to do a lot more damage than this man with a stick and a wooden coat. On top of this, the Bale Fiends also have magical and armor sundering attacks, so if you send them into combat against anything that has physical resist, lots of armor, pretty much anything that's protecting them, this guy's going to cut straight through it and do a ton of damage, way more than the guy in the fur coat, as I keep saying. So yes, Law of Fire, Bale Fiend, fantastic. For the Wood Elves, we decided to go with Waystalkers. Again, haven't played much of the Wood Elves, but what I could see, when you recruit an Ancient Tree Man, you can get the Law of Life. And the Law of Life is pretty much the only really good spellcaster or spell singer, whatever it's called, that the Wood Elves have. So you may as well just bring that guy and bring a Waystalker, because again, they buff range units, and when you're playing as the Wood Elves, the ranged units are kind of the only units that matter. You can just do a full army of Glade Guard, have a couple of Waystalkers spread around, and they're going to buff them into high hell, and they're going to do everything for your army. You don't need anything else. So yeah, they are pretty much the Wood Elf equivalent of the Gunnery Wights. They buff range units, they have some nice abilities, do some pretty good sniping damage themselves. Again, I haven't really played too much of the Wood Elves, so I can't give too much of a testimonial here, but from what I could see, from what the Discord was saying, yeah, they pretty much seem like they're the best. So playing as the Wood Elves, get one of these in every army, as long as you can get the Law of Life in the army as well. Cool. For the Beastmen, we decided to go for the Bray Shaman of Wilds. Yes, they have a few different Bray Shamans, and Shadows, I think they have Death as well, and Beasts, something like that. But anyway, the Wilds, it doesn't matter what the other ones are, the Wilds is the best one for the pure reason of you can summon a Cygor, and a Cygor is pretty neato, since that's basically the Beastman equivalent of the Necrophect Colossus, does a load of range damage, does really good at fighting in combat. Yeah, it's kind of obvious, just get it just for this spell, because it's fantastic. But, to be honest with you, if you're playing as the Beastmen, does it really matter what I'm going to say here? Because, no one loves you. CA doesn't love you. I don't really love you that much. I'm sure there are a few people out there, like that guy that keeps whooping my ass on the player streams. But, apart from that, sorry Beastmen. I really do feel bad. I hope it'll get changed soon. Hey, if you heard that the new DLC is going to be the Wood Elves, that was an exciting announcement that happened while I was away, so I couldn't make any videos on it, and now there's no point making a video on it because the news has already passed and there hasn't been an official announcement, so I can't give you any more information than anyone else has. So that's really fantastic. Love that. Anyway, coming to the final faction, which is of course the Warriors of Chaos, which I'm currently playing over on dlive.tv/COLONELDAMNEDERS. If you want to see me finish that campaign, then head over there, follow the channel, or join the Discord to find out when I'm streaming. But yes, for those guys, it's Firecaster, Fire Magic, good. Do I need to say anything else? Fire magic, good. Metal is pretty cool if you want to be a knockoff Balthazar Gelt, but it's fire magic all the way, you know? Fire magic, chaos, it's fantastic. Everything done. Cool, we're finished. Right, awesome. I'm so warm, I'm actually dying. Can you see? This shirt is going straight in the wash. I literally unpacked it moments ago, and it's going straight in the wash because I'm dying right now. It's so hot, guys. It's only 20 degrees, but it feels like it's about 1,000 here because I have a stupid computer. I have to shut all the windows when I'm recording, and the sun just comes into this side of the house. It's heinous. But anyway, yes, I thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then be sure to leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, I do try to do these fun types of list videos. I'm going, as I said, every other week. They were coming on Mondays. If I ever, manage to make it and do YouTube full time, then I will, of course, bring them back on Mondays. But for now, they're going to be every other week, and then every week it's going to be a guide of, I'm not sure. But when I do the main guides, it might just be those all in a row, or I can chop it up. In fact, that's a good question. If you want me to do the main guides, so the Chaos of Warriors guide, if you want me to do that 3 weeks in a row, then leave a comment down below saying that. If you would rather me do 1 week of videos like this, and then a Chaos guide, and then a video like this, and then a Chaos guide, and so on, then leave a comment saying that. In fact, I'll put a poll right there. Be sure to click on that. I would really like to know. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. But yes, be sure to subscribe if you want to see funky videos like this, as well as guides and fun stuffs and streams and all sorts of cool stuff like that. If you can't catch the D live streams, then I do upload the VODs onto this channel so you can watch them there. But yes, I basically rip them off and then just fire them straight up onto the YouTube channel with pretty much no editing, because it's just editing streams, especially stuff like that, it's not really worth it. But yes, then you can do that. But if you did not enjoy this video, if you didn't agree, then be sure to leave a dislike and comment down below. Tell me how you disagreed, how much you hate me, how much my opinions are invalid, and that'd be absolutely fantastic. As I mentioned, I have a Patreon. If you feel like supporting that, there's a link in the description. All sorts of cool benefits, discounts on merch, and yes, I'm hopefully getting some actual cool merch designs done that are like the emotes that I had done for the Discord. If you want to see what those emotes are, then be sure to join the link down below. And of course, if you join the Discord, you'll find out when I'm streaming, and you can help out on videos like this. I've rambled on for far too long, so I'm going to cut it off here. Thank you for watching. It's been your boy, COLONELDAMNEDERS. I am sweating. Goodbye.